Dear viewers, we are here today. It's Saturday, the 16th of January. Are we on the 14th or the 16th of January?
I believe it's the 14th of January.
14th of January 2012. We're having Nigerians here debating on the issue of subsidies in Nigeria. Today we have here with the Immigrant magazine, attorney Ugo Asobi, who is a civil rights attorney and also editor of African Affairs with the Immigrant magazine. Mr. Ugo Asobi, what's your opinion regarding this removal of subsidies in Nigeria?
Well, thank you, Charles. And Nigerians are here today to talk about an issue that is important to every Nigeria as of today. In principle, most Nigerians, including myself, agree with subsidy removal. The math and the economics make sense. In practice, however, we don't believe that the subsidy removal will result in the gains that the current administration is telling Nigerians that will happen by subsidy removal. What I'm essentially saying is that corruption is going to consume the proceeds of subsidy removal in Nigeria. That is the anxiety of Nigerians. That is what keeps us awake at night. And that's why Nigerians are out on the streets in New York, in Los Angeles, and in Lagos. We like roads, we like infrastructure, we want the government to have more cash flow, but we do not believe that if the subsidy is removed in this present dispensation, the monies will be used for what it is intended. President Jonathan has appointed Christopher Kolade to head the panel of people that will spend the money from the removal of subsidy. We don't believe that goes far enough. Obama reminded us that Africa needs strong institutions and not strong men. Kolade is not going to live forever. What we need is essentially a system of checks and balances that will make sure that the subsidy removal or the monies and profits from subsidy removal will be used for the Nigerian people.
Wonderful. Ugo, what would you say of those that believe that the subsidies were there to assist in a certain way in reducing gas prices and in reducing other expenses that the common Nigerian is depending on to survive?
Well, absolutely. I mean, in Nigeria now, well, before the subsidy was removed, a gallon of petrol was going for 65 naira per gallon. That was to the advantage of the average Nigerian.
Yes. After
subsidy is removed, we are being told that a gallon of petrol will go for 140 naira. So that's easy. I mean, at 65 naira a gallon, the livelihood of the average Nigerian will be much better. But the question is, I believe in market economy. I believe that the market should control the price of gas.
Okay.
But what we're essentially kicking against is corruption. We are kicking against corruption. A situation whereby the government saves billions of dollars from subsidy removal and these monies goes to the pocket of a few people doesn't help Nigerians in any way. We will rather have the subsidy there and 160 million Nigerians profiting from Nigerians' oil wealth than for the subsidy to be removed and for the money to be shared between a few politicians.
So at long last, Nigeria, which is the giant of sub-Saharan Africa, is beginning to take on the fight of accountability with government and policies. Is that what we're looking at today?
Absolutely. Here's what we propose.
Yes.
We propose that the government should tell us exactly how much is going to be saved from removal of subsidy.
Okay.
That amount of money should be published in a website that is accessible to every Nigerian.
Okay.
There should be an enabling law that makes it compulsory for those monies to be published for the consumption of Nigerians. And there should be punitive measures against any officer that fails to inform Nigerians how much are being saved from subsidy removal. That's one. Secondly, I believe that 100% of the monies saved from subsidy removal should be used for building roads.
Correct.
Let's not even talk about other infrastructure. We want to be able to follow these monies from morning to night.
Correct.
They should be used exclusively for building roads. And there has to be a law that states that any government official who embezzles the money that's saved from subsidy removal should be punished. We are not going to advocate capital punishment because we are not China.
Okay.
If it was in China, they would say that any government official who touches the proceeds of subsidy removal will be sentenced to death.
Right.
But in Nigeria, we should at least have between 10 and 20 years imprisonment for any government official who messes with the monies removed from subsidy. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome, Metro Asobi. And we look forward to your next interview with the Immigrant magazine on issues with all of Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And now we have
Alimi
Adamo, another attorney from Nigeria, who happens to reside in Southern California and still right here with us while we're dealing with this Nigerian issue of removal of subsidies. Please, Mr. Adamo, can you tell us your opinion on the subsidy removal?
All facets of Nigerian life is actually subsidized. When a government awards a contract worth 100 million naira for 400 million naira, what you have done is that essentially you have subsidized that corrupt official and the cohorts. So when you have to remove subsidy, the first thing you do, remove that enabling environment that allows individual to be subsidized, and that means accountability at all levels of the Nigerian government. Number one. Number two, when you say there is subsidy, what you are doing is that you are saying, trust me. And the people are saying, I do not believe you that there is subsidy. So what we are battling with is trust deficit in Nigeria.
Okay.
And how do you address this issue? The first thing you have to do is you have to come out in a verifiable way to tell us how much you receive from oil process in Nigeria. You have to tell us how you spend the money that you receive. You have to tell us what you have done to eliminate waste and fraud in Nigerian economy. When you do that, you have to tell us this is the amount that is accruable to the government, and this is how much we have spent it. And that at the end of the day, the money you have saved from the current regime, when you've done that and the people believe that you are acting in their interest, then you can enter into dialogue as to whether there is subsidy for removal or not. So what we are going through now is a situation where government is saying we are subsidizing you, and the people are saying we do not believe that you are subsidizing us.
Wait.
So the starting point will be, where is the subsidy? Convince us that you are subsidizing Nigerians. Okay. If you do not do that, then it does not even begin to factor into our discussion.
So in essence, you're asking for transparency and accountability.
Transparency and accountability should be the starting points.
Okay. Thank you very much, Metro Alimi. And I also have here the publisher. I have here the publisher of Life and Times magazine, who resides in Los Angeles. And he is here with us at this, I would call it a civil rights movement for Nigeria. All right. And Mr.
Chike
Nweke. And what's your opinion about the subsidies?
The point we are making is that the level of corruption in Nigeria is appalling.
Okay.
We have a situation where the average Nigerian worker, minimum wage is 15,000 naira, Nigerian local currency. Now, a plate of food in Sheraton Hotel, one of the upscale hotels in Lagos, for a buffet, it is 30,000 naira. So a minimum wage earner cannot even pick up a plate of food in the country.
Okay.
Fuel at the current rate is about 250 naira, 150 to 200 naira per liter. So for 5 liters, you need about 1,000 naira to buy 5 liters of fuel. Minimum wage in Nigeria is 375 naira a day.
Okay.
So how can that be sustainable? What you're saying basically is that the poor cannot afford to do anything in Nigeria. Meanwhile, the National Assembly in Nigeria, a member of the National Assembly takes home about 30 to 40 million naira every month as official allowances. This is enough to pay about 10,000 workers their minimum wage every day. So The level of corruption in Nigeria is appalling. Government spends about 70% of the national budget just to sustain the democracy, just to run the wages and salaries and allowances of top government elected officials in Nigeria and appointed officials. That is unsustainable. We only spend 10% of our GDP on capital expenditure every year. How can that continue? We need to do what is happening in most developing countries and most developed countries in the world, where about 60 to 70% of the annual budget of the country goes to capital expenditure. In Nigeria, there are no roads. Electricity is so epileptic you can't even believe it. Generators are the main suppliers of electricity in the country. Where is all this money going? 2 years ago, Nigeria had about $33 billion in foreign reserve. Today, we do not have anything. How can we trust them to spend the $8 billion that is going to be realized from subsidy removal judiciously when they squandered all of this money that they got in the last 2 years from the foreign reserves? The point we are making is that the cost of sustaining democracy and elected officials in Nigeria is horrible. They need to prune down the cost of government before we even talk about applying subsidy judiciously. Wonderful. That's the point we are making.
You're very correct. And on that note, would you say Occupy movement that's stemmed all the way from the US influenced this current movement in Nigeria?
Correct. That's what's happening. People are beginning to get aware that corruption needs to end. The Arab Spring is a clear example of what can happen in Nigeria. Arab leaders continue this perpetuation of corruption and injustice for years. Yes. And that's exactly what's happening in most African countries. So we need to stand up against these corrupt leaders and stop this mess that is going on.
You're most welcome. So you just heard African immigrants in the US making their statement about the current issues going on with Nigeria, and we expect change by all means possible. Thank you very much, Bob.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. That was